What is up, everybody? In this video, we're gonna go over a $10,000 trade because, quite frankly, they don't happen very often. This is what the equity curve looks like for the session. If we come out of it, we'll remove this date filter here. We'll go ahead and look at all of my trades. And you can see we have had a $10,000 loss. But that's got an outlier tag you can see right there. So we kind of hide that one, sweep that one underneath the rug. And here are my top performing trades since I've started this, using this journal, which, by the way, this is my custom journal software. Really, it's a tagging software called Tradecraft. Link in the description. It's tradecraft.club. And we have a sale right now, 20% off, permanent discount if you maintain your billing cycle. You gotta have to put in Moonshot on checkout. And the sale is officially done at March 2nd. The journal is extremely affordable. These prices right here do not include the 20% discount. So you can get that for the remainder of you having it. Now, going back, the first time I started using this journal was 11/04/2024. That's when we officially got the journal up and running. So it's been tested for some time. And when we go back to the P&L right here, you can see my highest P&L was today, $10,950. I still need to review it. It doesn't have all the tags on it. And then we have a $9,000 trade, which, who gives a fuck about that, right? And other than that, $5 grand, $5 grand, 4,500, 43, a few 3,000s, and a lot more $2,000 trades, and then quite a few $1,000 trades. That's where I usually live. So this is currently the record trade since using the Tradecraft software, and I've been consistently using the Tradecraft software. Now, one thing I'm going to do, since this is an outlier trade, because I don't usually pick up trades like this, I'm going to give it an outlier tag because this will impact all these other tags, and it'll just skew the results. So if you are using Tradecraft, I definitely recommend that if you do have a really big loss or a really big win, you're going to want to outlie it. Now, before we get into this episode, there's something you guys need to know. Tarukin's in my lap right now. So Tarukin camera is currently not working. Well, you can see his cat tree is vacant. I would pivot the camera down so you can see him because I know how much some of you guys love him. However, after a session like this, there's a bunch of piss bottles on the floor that I don't want you to see. Don't judge me. I do believe professional traders should have piss jugs. I mean, if you look at endurance racers and race cars and whatnot, they have relief tubes, okay? That just comes with athleticism. So if you want to take your trading to the next step and you're really fighting your life off for a $10,000 trade, have some pee jugs. But that wasn't the important thing I wanted to tell you. There's a video right here called How I Make Trading Decisions. You're going to want to watch that before this because I go over a mind map. And in that episode, I wanted to show you how I use it during a session. And well, you know, the day of posting this video to YouTube, I used the mind map, like I said, which ultimately got me into a big trade. I mean, I fought my ass off. I still need to review the session. And obviously, I'm posting some YouTube videos back to back. When it comes to the Tradecraft software, we're doing an aggressive marketing strategy where I'm going to attempt to post 2 videos a week. Usually one of them is a larger video, and the second video is typically going to be a shorter video. But since I bagged a big one today, it just makes sense to do a more in-depth video. So I will be posting a lot more frequently because that shit work. YouTube ad revenue sucks big asshole. Believe it or not, it doesn't pay shit. And I want to continue to do content. I enjoy being a content creator. However, in order to bankroll this shit, you need something else going on. and we built a badass trading software, which it's going to get a lot better. Also, if you do want to see all of these trades in this actual 2-hour session, which this is a recording from that session, you can always join the coffee, link in the description below. You can even see that $10,000 loss if you would like to. And it looks like Tarukin decided it's showtime. What's weird is he fucking knows when it's showtime. See what I'm doing? Like, this shit ain't scripted. This motherfucker knows. It's like Han Solo and Chewbacca. Yeah, but link in the description for everything. This video right here, the Tradecraft software, and the coffee. One day I would like to link my equity curve on Tradecraft software to be able to allow you to just click on my equity curve and filter through my shit so you can go straight to the video. Because there's hundreds of fucking videos on the coffee at this point. There's just hundreds of hours. Like, all my trading for like the last, I don't know, well, almost 2 years has all been documented at this point. So this video goes over this thing right here. We're gonna use it to kind of read the charts. So I'm gonna be pulling this up and just kind of going through this. So if this doesn't make sense, go watch that fucking video that I mentioned. So I'm gonna be taking clips from this 2-hour long session that's on the coffee. So this right here is gonna be a 30-minute chart. You can see it goes all the way back to 115 down here. So January 15th, so well over a month we've been in a range, and I'm not drawing these fucking lines straight. This is a really good looking fucking range. And if we go to the flow chart right here, the mind map or whatever the fuck I call it, what is the regime? So higher time frame, we are in a range, and it's I know it's loose, but it is a tight model look. It has a model look. It looks like a range. It's not like, oh, I don't know, is this a range? So we have cleaner mean reversion plays potentially at hand right here. So I'm gonna have naturally a long bias. Now the big trade is short. Next we go into the daily chart. That range we just looked at is up in this region right here from the 30 minutes. So this is a bigger view, and I still believe we're in a range So I believe there's a range on the daily that spans back to the beginning of October. However, we got a big old honker of a range right here currently on the 30-minute. So what I do is I zoom in on the 30-minute chart right here, and I'm drawing reclaims. Now I have a video called Reclaims and Slips. I fucking swear to God, I recommend this in every single video, and I think you should get it tattooed on your fucking hand at this point. No, don't do that. I don't want to be responsible. Actually, you know what? If somebody got a tattoo of Tarukin on their butt cheek, my Twitter handle is what is it again? @RealFatCat1. Send me a picture. I'd be interested to see that. If you want to understand reclaims and slips, please check it out. What I'm doing here is I'm drawing reclaims. So on the 30 minutes, we have an unchecked reclaim, and then we have another reclaim that's not being retraced. We have one up here. So when we go into this, which by the way, this is Obsidian, this is free to use. We're still on a higher time frame. Are they taking reclaims? Not really, not right here. So notice how they're not taking the reclaim on the downside or here. And there's a bigger one over here. So typically what that means is when they're not taking them on the downside, it's a trend. So we've got two things confirming longs. We got a model look, clean mean reversion play. And currently we're at the bottom of this 30-minute range that I showed you earlier. Now we've obviously zoomed in, and we can see that we're currently in a trend. However, there's another reclaim up here, right in this zone. So are they going to take that? I'm not sure. So if they're not, things can be shifting. So just because we're kind of trending up, and I got two factors of support confirming an up move, doesn't mean that the smaller time frame is agreeing. So let me rewind a little bit. This is more zoomed out. We're in a range. And it's also a slip range on the higher time frame as well because of how loose it is in the middle. You can see these large pukes and shit, and they're taking it. When we come in here, we do have a slip range, so mean reversion play. So between the reclaims not being taken here, which you saw a zoomed in approach with those white boxes, and here, this is long biased. We're at the bottom of a bigger range. That's a clean looking range, long biased. And it's very slip heavy, long biased. Typically, and this is where I fucked up when I was fighting earlier in the session, typically you want to lean into the direction the wind is blowing, and I did make terrible decisions at times. Again, I gotta review this shit. But I also wanted to make this YouTube video, and if I don't make YouTube videos like this on the day of, then I just kind of like, fuck that. There's a lot of videos where I'm like, I want to do this. This would be great. You guys will enjoy it. And then like a day goes by, I'm like, fuck it. So there's a lot of fuck it videos that have kind of been pissed off into the wind. So here's a 30-second. Now we're hyper zoomed in. Now this is starting to tell us a different story. Just because a high time frame is telling me to go long doesn't mean that I should be going long. So here's these white boxes I drew, and they're obviously really large because we're pretty zoomed in at this point. Now, when I sat down to trade, I talked to one of my prop traders because I roll in midday, and people often ask me, why do you come in the middle of the fucking session? Well, there's two reasons for that. Reason number one is I'm not a morning person. When I wake up, I'm just naturally pissed the fuck off for some reason. I don't know why. It's not like anything fucking bad happened. In fact, last night was a great night. I went skating, haven't roller skated in a long time, crushed it. All the homies were there. The vibes were flying high, you know? And then we launched Tradecraft today, you know? But I just wake up fucking mad. If I'm gonna trade, I need to be ready. I need to be alert, awake. It's a performance sport. I want to feel good. And also, I like when the session pans out because I could sit down and actually figure out what the flavor of the day is and have an idea of what I need to be doing based off the mind map. Okay, so they're slipping a lot. They're taking a lot of reclaims, so this is also a range in here as well. Price action is fractal, so this is, you know, the open was somewhere back here, so it obviously ripped up, and now it's consolidating, but it's going from tight to loose, you can see. And when things go loose, and this is more so over here in the volatility section, need bigger wins, looser stops, size down. Didn't just size down today. I decided I'm gonna just up my risk, which I did draw down a 6K before I really started to turn it around. Like, I do fight. I fight a lot. And that's the reality of my trading. It's not always the prettiest. I know I can always do better. I'm good, but it's just like I can do a lot fucking better. So we see that it's going from tight to loose. So, and it's kind of hitting like 10-point spans. These yellow lines are every 5 points. So this is pretty big looseness. So now I need to do some other price action checks. So at this point, I'm looking for like inventory clear. What are they doing? Are they V flushing? So what I do know is on this small time frame, they're definitely taking a lot of the reclaims back. They're slip ranging and they're taking reclaims. So on the small time frame, they are taking reclaims, yes. So we want to be trading into reclaims, which I'm speculating this was a critical mistake earlier in the session in certain areas, because I did get washed out. And they're slip ranging. So slip ranging and reclaims are hand in hand because a slip range is a reclaim. It's just, there's a bunch of them overlapping. So on this 30-second, well, really it's a 10-second time frame now. We're getting mean reversions and we want to be trading into the reclaims. However, they're also V flushing a lot. So we're getting a lot of V flush with reversals. So are they trying to take liquidity? Yes. Which is typically a breakout, but they're not breaking out. Instead, they're V flushing. And this V flushing is leading to reversals. So sometimes you'll V flush and the move will continue in one direction. And the V flush becomes like a traditional pullback. What's happening here is it has reversals. I know this is confusing, but right here, there's a double bottom. They puke it, come back in, right? They kind of V flush here as well. Bit of a double bottom right there. This is a 10-second chart. They V flush that as well. Up here, there's a lot of consolidation. There's liquidity in here. It's a flat top. I'm looking for these flat double, triple, quad tops on the 10-second. There's a triple top here. They flush it, come in, taking the reclaim. So they're doing a lot of these flush of inventory, getting stop runs to go, but they're V flushing and they're reversing back in. So while the higher time frame is long, we got to be very careful on the smaller time frame, because the volatility is huge. You're talking 5-point moves, no problem. And when I notice my P&L is swinging $1,000 in a blink of an eye, that, again, volatility check, follow this. We're super loose, so I need bigger wins, looser stops, size down, or I'm going to be adding to this. Increase risk. Order flow observation is really, I'm noticing it's pretty kind of thin. I'm noticing it's not taking much to move it. So we got skittish behavior. So typically I want to be quicker, skittish, conservative trading, depending on my pulse check. Now, my pulse check during this environment was I was doing pretty good at predicting partial moves. So I want a hybrid approach of conservative and aggressive. Now, I was being really aggressive on a lot of the trades, but then again, I need to do the review. So I have a pretty good bead on what's happening, but the problem is, since the volatility is higher than, I've seen it in a while, I'm getting bigger P&L swings. Price action's the same. When there's more volatility, it's the same price action. It's just stretched. It's the exact same shit. If you were to tick compress your DOM or somehow tick compress your charts, it would look like a normal session, but a lot of traders get spooked by it because it seems like it's moving a lot. It's an illusion. It's the same shit. It's moving more. Same type of price action patterns, in my opinion. It's just bigger and broader. So I have a pretty good beat on it. I'm just not sure how I need to adjust. Like normal environments, if I'm going for 4 tick trades in normal environments, well, today it would be at 12 ticks. So when I'm picking up 4 ticks in a specific environment that's lower volatility than this, in this environment, that 4 ticks turns into 12 ticks. So I still need to try to do the math in my head and figure out what that conversion is in this environment. And the thing is, it's kind of hard to math it without really trading it and feeling it and kind of knowing. So I do realize that about 5 points to maybe 10 ticks is what I should have been going for during the moments when I should have been scalping, which would have been the conservative approach. Obviously, the aggressive trade worked out, which I could have held for more, but man, my heart was thumping during this session. And the narration episode, we're going to look at a snippet of it, but on the coffee, it's really pretty intense to watch and hear my voice and shit. Because when I review my trades and talk about these things on YouTube, I sit here with this swagger and confidence, but when you hear a trader trading on the hard right edge, there's something different. Their energy, the way they're projecting themselves, it's different. It's a different feel, a different flavor of Fat Cat when you're hearing it. Because I am in the face of uncertainty. So there were moments where I should have been cutting, but I was also bankrolling a lot. I do have another video on bankrolling. This will also be in the description of this video. This is the most fucking crucial and important skill set when it comes to actively managing your trades. Like if you're experiencing problems and you think you're in a big win and there might be more on the table, most of the time it's best to just take it off. So that way you can fix losses and lock in some profits, because sometimes when you get into a big trade, you know, if I hadn't got beat the fuck up so bad, I would have maybe pushed it further. But I needed to lock it in because the P&L was kind of violent in the swings. I was up $2,000, then I tried. Well, you'll see. I was up $2,000 and then I lose the $2,000 and then I flip hit into this big $10,000 short. Even though I could have held it, I also needed a bankroll out of it. This is why I have a pretty crazy equity curve. So on the Tradecraft software, this is 474 trades. This is my equity curve overall. Bankrolling is so important because, and I know it does look impressive, but if you really come down into, you know, individual days, we'll look at just today, you know, you can see how turbulent it was. Yesterday was a pretty good day. But we'll look at Monday because I also fought on Monday. You can see just how the equity curve kind of chops at times. We'll go to Friday, which is pretty good as well. Come on. There you go. Like you can see I was just below break even. So a lot of my equity curve is on a day-to-day basis can have like this flat effect up until near the end of the session. And that's because I am bankrolling trades. You got to pay yourself, and it's not a good idea to lose too much money. Like, every time you get into a trade, you could lose. And if you get into a trade that happens to be winning, and you can use a chunk of that to pay off some losses, you should do that. So, this is a very important management skill, and this video goes more into it. So at this point, it seems like they're doing a lot of V flushing. So what I'm going to do is go to the second to last trade and kind of show you how the price action evolved. Okay, so you can barely see it, but up here is that big ass range, and they puked it. So when a range pukes, you can get measured moves, which we got a measured move. A measured move is you take the width of the range and then you put it on top or below. If it breaks out on top, you put it on top. If it breaks out to the short side, you put it on the short side. Typically when a range breaks out, it'll go about its body width in that direction. And if there's a reclaim assisting it, it's even better. And there's a big honker of a reclaim here which does assist the breakout down. So at this point, as it's breaking out of this really loose range, which I'll zoom in, you can see the long right there. You know, at some point she's busting, everything is shifting. Also, I'll say this, with that range up there, the price action was super duper loose. And when I see a lot of slipping, that's not really good for a sustained move up. So as I told you earlier, there were like 3 factors of support for a long based off the higher time frame. However, really the small time frame dictates everything. Trying to get into a clean high time frame move is often challenging because if you aren't able to get in it just right on the smaller time frame, and also the small time frames typically want to do something different, you can be taking tremendous amounts of risk. And obviously, you know, this motherfucker has blown out from its high like 45 fucking points, which is a devastating blow to everybody's account, even mine if I was holding a long up there, because the high time frame said, you know, that's huge. That loss is massive. So just because the high time frame says something doesn't mean you should do it until the lower time frame agrees. And the low time frame, it trumps everything. And the low time frame is telling us there's been a massive shift, and oftentimes the low time frame is going to confirm that the high time frame is no longer valid. So right here there's this pink line. So I am on Sierra charts right now. This is the 30-minute time frame. So this is going to be after the fact, after the big dump. So you got to realize the price action is here at the time of the recording. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. So what you can see is 1, 2, 3. So right here, there's sort of a triple bottom here. This is a liquidity zone which if we go to Obsidian, we can see that we have liquidity zones, and they are taking liquidity, but they are V flushing when they do it. So it's a yes, but it's a V flush. When you saw the price action earlier, which I'll go back, where I explain all these yellow lines I drew, those were all V flushes. Again, they're taking liquidity. Well, as we just saw a moment ago, where this pink line is, you may or may not be able to see it that well. It's right here at 78. That is a liquidity line on the higher time frame. So the theme of the day is V flushes, take out liquidity. Now right here they V flush by several points on the pink line. So they're V flushing that liquidity, and even though the market's gone down quite a bit, the higher time frame in my opinion is still a bit long biased. So I'm obviously hitting a long in here, and I believe if they're going to get through this section, they need to pull back hard. Now I'm still sitting in here on the trade at 81 even, and I've been doing it since this V flush happened. However, things are starting to shift. There's a range setting up. It's a slip range. They're starting to turn it into a range. If we go into Obsidian on the smaller time frame, are they slip ranging? Yes. And what is, you know, it looks like clean, meaner. It looks like a good range. Cleaner, meaner version plays. That's a decent looking range. And it is going from tight ish to loose. And if they were going to V flush this, it should have went by now. So this is where I'm starting to realize something is happening, something is changing. Because on all those other V flushes we saw earlier where I drew these yellow lines, they didn't embed and stick. They usually V flushed or went through and then it came back in. So if that's the theme of the session, that should be happening here, and it's not happening. Now, I do sit in this trade, and it goes in my favor quite a bit. You know, it went all the way up here to 85. I could have pulled a fat win on that. So I'm going to fast forward it a little bit. And then you can see that they just jam it against me right here. And I'm up $2,000 at this point. It's a fast down flush. I'm realizing this is problematic. So I'm going to zoom in. You can see how it like went tight right here. They puked it, and now they're coming back in and going loose. They're doing quite a few fake outs. So what this is telling me is they're generating liquidity, lots of fake outs. Now it is a range, but they are faking out in it, and it's not really the cleanest of ranges. So I would say it's loose or tight going loose, hold more. But the thing is, I'm kind of in the wrong end of this thing. Like if you're in a trade and the price action starts to turn into a range on top of you, that's not usually good, depending on what happens. And you're going to see that depending on what happens on the next entry. So what I opt out to do is, hey, I'm very wrong. You have this pink liquidity line. They've already V flushed it, but now they're molesting it. They're fucking with it. So that's telling me that, hey, we're going to be going into a downtrend at this point. I'm wrong. So unfortunately, I will be giving back my $2,000, and then we flip hit, and this trade goes on forever. So I'm going to fast forward it, and we're going to watch the price action. You can see I'm in it at 77. So instead of just kind of watching it on the DOM, we're going to watch the price action because that is more important, and I do need to zoom in to explain what is happening. So I'm going to just continue to fast forward it. They're puking it pretty hard. I go to look at the higher time frame. That pink line was drawn here. They're breaching that liquidity. They've already done it, but they never V flushed. So there's a shift. So, you know, yeah, it was good to be long biased, but everything stays the same until proven otherwise. It's so important to understand that. And now something has shifted. So we're sitting in this, they're starting to puke it, and the trade works relatively well for me. So let's keep fast forwarding it. You can see it's continuing to go down. Let's go a little bit in the future. It does come back up, and it does start to go through me right here. I am at 77s. It's currently at 79. However, I do know what this can potentially be. Now, this could go potentially wrong, but I realize what this might be. Going up against me, it goes as close to 84s. So it really does chug against me quite a bit. Again, I'm in it at 77s, which is here. Doesn't look like big moves, but it is. And I'm willing to risk more on this specific session. And I know there's a lot of fake outs. I know we're in fake out territory. I know, yes, it's a range, but I'm trying to hold, and this is kind of like a fake out range in a sense. It's not the prettiest range either. So we can see it's starting to come down through me again. And also on downtrend days, when you have hard pukes, they're not like uptrend days. Typically, they'll range before they continue. So you'll get these ranges, and then the way it pukes down is so much different than an uptrend. They always typically put in some form of a consolidation before it continues to go down. So now we're getting a really good puke right here. So again, I'm in it at 77s. It's gone as low as 65s at this point. Pan that so you can see. So over here, got in, went against us, and now it's really starting to pan out. Based off the way this is formed up and structured, I know what this is, and I know they're taking liquidity today. They just happen to not V-flush this liquidity spot on the higher time frame, and the fact of the matter is, since they're not V-flushing it like they did earlier in the session, that's telling me there can be a potential continuation. Also, earlier in the session when I first sat down, everything was really loose. And to say this again, when the price action is super duper loose and it's slip ranging hard, even though I have a long bias or a short bias, in this circumstance a long bias, it was heavily slipping. That means the buyers are just as weak as the sellers, and you'll see a lot of heavy slipping before they just absolutely bumfuck the other direction. Like, it's a very skittish behavior in the price action. Slip ranging is skittish behavior, and even though we're going up, if I see that, I'm very hesitant to continue to go up. And we know they're wanting to flush liquidity. They flushed this liquidity line I showed earlier on the 30-minute chart, but not only did they flush it, they continue to molest it. So that's telling us something's going on. And since the volatility is so high today, or at least in this specific session, there's a good chance that they're really going to push really far. So I'm leaning into that narrative now. So we're still holding the trade, and then what happens is right here, this is a 10-second chart. Let's adjust it. So what they're doing here is now they're compressing it. If we go to Obsidian, we have compression zones right here. So is the compression zone holding? Yes, it's a potential breakout. Now, the thing about this is the way this checklist works is this stuff is always changing. It's always shifting. So just because yes right now doesn't mean yes forever. This compression zone is yes for now, which it's breaking out and up. However, the overall theme has now shifted downtrend. So there's a little bit of a wedge here. There's a bit of a reclaim here, and they're leaving a lot of reclaims on the back end where they're not taking, like this reclaim. There's some other reclaims up above that they're not taking, which I failed to mention earlier. Again, if they are not taking reclaims, it's a trend, okay? And it's a downtrend overall on the higher time frame. Now, they're not taking reclaims there, but if you are looking at immediate micro price action, they could be taking reclaims. So this thing is like a checklist, and this is going to be being checked on multiple time frames. So yes, overall, they're not taking reclaims on the upside, so it's a trend down, but they could be taking like little reclaims in this area, which can aid a precise entry. So yes, the compression is going up. Let's fast forward it. And you can see that it's dancing here. And now the compression starts to get tested. And then you see a big fat puke right there, and they run right through this compression zone. So now the compression is failing. This is almost like a V-flush. So let's see if boom, they go through it some more. Let me see if it should show Auction Vista here. Okay, so it doesn't actually show Auction Vista on this specific, it's another piece of price action. However, you can see that compression is failing, and they are going through the other side, and it's not quite pull backing. So when we come in here, we can go to compression zone. It's not holding, so therefore it is a reversal. At first it did hold, and it was a breakout. Now we check this off. It's failing, so therefore it is a reversal. And we have other shit on the higher time frame telling us that overall this is now a downtrend. It's really about getting multiple factors of support to agree on whatever's happening. And the expected value is always fucking changing and shifting. It is always shifting. So what little pattern is working now can fail. And when it does fail and not work out the way you expected, like my second to last trade when I lost $2,000 on it, that's giving me vital information that something has changed. Now, obviously, I do need a bankroll in scenarios like that, because this is not good to just keep taking big losses. So now we can see it puking even harder right here. And for me, I'm going to hold just a little bit past 60. Now there's a giant white reclaim box. I do believe they can go through it. It was kind of a hard decision to make. They start pulling back, and they went to 59 even, just below 60. Again, was going to get out at 60. I did want to lock in 10 grand, not going to lie. Haven't had one of these sessions in a very long time. And I also wanted to be done with this session. I needed a bankroll because I was down like a couple of $100 at this point. They start to push it up. And I'm not going to get shaken out of this, because on these downtrend moves, I've been shaken out by these types of things many of times. And I realize that this specific pullback here, it's a lot bigger because the volatility is bigger. And here's a really good view of them hitting 60 and puking it. Notice how, like, this is just a really good reclaim right here. See how vertical and narrow and thin it is right here as well. Notice this section though, they really are tight, and it really takes a lot of fighting to get this motherfucker up. And now they're just running through it like nothing. So here it comes, it's coming down, and then we're starting to get out. We get out at like 58, 70, I don't know. We get out somewhere's right in this region, 59-ish somehow. Either way, you saw the P&L. We lock it in pretty fat, 31 minutes in that trade. And by the way, this is Jigsaw trading. I know I'm like pitching a lot of shit in this video. That's just how it is, because this is free for you guys to watch. You can save like $30 on Jigsaw Trading, affiliate link in the description, and you want to put in Fat Cat on checkout. I still use Jigsaw. I love it. And I think when it comes to like, because I have this Auction Vista up, it's so useful for me. Now coming back into the charts on the 10-second, we can see, we'll go ahead and move this line down to, what was it, 65s or no, it was right down here on this white box is where I got out. We get out right in here. Obviously it starts to hesitate, and then there's almost 15 more points on the table before it really backs the fuck up. I mean, the motherfucker backs up substantially, and it would have blown me out if I sat in it at the end of the fucking session. It would have come all the way back, because we were in it at 77s. I mean, the motherfucker would have come back on me. So as much as I thought they would run this reclaim box, they rejected it at some point. So yes, I did leave quite a bit on the table. I figured it would continue to go. I should have pushed it a little bit more. It does kind of range up in here, but at the same time, I needed a bankroll. So management is incredibly tricky. I do hope you guys enjoyed that, and you guys have till March 2nd to get 20% off permanent discount off of all this. This is not including the discount price. Moonshot on checkout. It's going to be a badass software. I'm using it. It's been helping me get better in my trading. I've been learning that I need to push holds a lot more because of the software and seeing that specific tag. And I know we're going to do sales in the future, but we're not going to do like 20% off permanent. That's just not going to fucking happen. This is special occasion for the launch week. So if you guys enjoyed that video, like it, thumbs up, and I've never say that shit. Why am I saying that shit? Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.